I never thought I would end up in a nursing home. I spent over 8 decades living life on my own terms. I built a family. I worked hard. I laughed a lot. I cried plenty too. But I always believed that I would be in control of my final years. I imagined sitting in my old house, the one I built with my own hands, drinking my morning coffee while watching the sunrise. I pictured my children visiting me often, my grandchildren running around the yard, and the warmth of my home wrapping around me like an old familiar blanket. But here I am, 82 years old, sitting in a room that does not feel like mine, surrounded by people who are not my family, listening to the distant sounds of a television I did not turn on. If I could go back in time, there is one thing I would do differently. One thing that haunts me every night when I close my eyes. One thing that, if I had a second chance, I would change in a heartbeat. I regret not preparing for this stage of life sooner. I always thought I had more time. When I was in my 50s, I told myself that old age was still far away. When I reached my 60s, I felt strong and capable, so I brushed off any thoughts about the future. Even in my 70s, I told myself that I would deal with it later. I convinced myself that my children would take care of me if it ever came to that. I assumed that things would just work out. I avoided the uncomfortable conversations, the difficult decisions, the reality that I would not be independent forever. I told myself that my home would always be mine, that my health would never decline to the point where I could not care for myself, that my family would always have the time and ability to look after me. Then life happened. My body grew weaker, my balance became unsteady. I started forgetting things, small things at first, where I put my glasses, what day it was, then bigger things. Taking my medication, locking the front door, turning off the stove. My children noticed, and before I knew it, they were making decisions for me. They meant well. They loved me. But they did what they thought was best, not what I wanted. And because I had never made my wishes clear, because I had never put a plan in place, because I had spent years pretending that this day would never come, I lost control of my own life. The day they moved me into this nursing home was the day I realized how much I had lost. My house, the one filled with decades of memories, was sold. My belongings were either given away or put in storage. I was left with a handful of photos, some clothes, and a few personal items. The walls here are not mine. The furniture is not mine. The bed does not feel like mine. I wake up every morning and for a split second, I forget where I am. Then reality hits me like a punch to the gut. I see other residents here who are just like me, people who lived full lives, who worked hard, who raised families, who thought they had time. Some are lucky enough to have visitors often. Others sit by the window day after day, staring outside, waiting for someone who may never come. I used to think that loneliness was something only young people felt, but I have learned that it does not matter how old you are. Loneliness still hurts just as much. If I had planned ahead, things could have been different. I could have chosen where I wanted to live. I could have found a place that felt more like home. I could have prepared my family, talked to them about my wishes, made decisions while I still had the strength to do so. I could have set aside money, ensured that my transition into this phase of life was on my own terms. Instead, I let time slip away. I let my pride get in the way. I let fear keep me from facing the inevitable. Now I sit here watching the clock tick, realizing that time does not wait for anyone. I wish I could tell my younger self to stop pretending that old age is something that happens to other people. I wish I could shake myself and say, wake up, make a plan, do not wait until it is too late. Because when the time comes, and it will come for everyone, you will either have control over your future or someone else will have it for you. I do not want pity. I do not want anyone to feel sorry for me. My life was good. It was full. I had love, laughter, and adventure. But I share this because I hope someone out there will listen. Someone in their 50s, 60s, or 70s who still thinks they have all the time in the world. Someone who is avoiding the conversation, pushing the thoughts away, convincing themselves that they will always be strong and independent. Do not make the same mistake I did. Face the truth now. Make the hard choices now, because one day you will wake up and the choice will no longer be yours to make. Now, let's clear some common questions. How do you cope with the loneliness and emotional challenges that come with this transition? Loneliness is a strange thing. It does not announce itself with a loud knock or a sudden crash. It creeps in slowly, like a shadow stretching across the floor as the sun sets. At first, you do not even notice it. You are busy adjusting to your new surroundings, learning the routines, meeting the staff, and figuring out how life works within these walls. But then, one evening, you sit in your room after dinner, and the silence presses down on you. You realize that no one is coming through that door unannounced. No one is calling your name from the next room. The house you once filled with laughter and conversation is no longer yours. You are here now, and the weight of it settles deep in your bones. In the beginning, I fought against it. I told myself that loneliness was just a feeling, something I could shake off if I stayed busy enough. I made a point to talk to people in the hallways, sit with different groups at mealtimes, and participate in activities even when I did not feel like it. I thought if I just kept moving, I could outrun the emptiness. But the truth is, loneliness does not disappear just because you fill your schedule. It lingers in the quiet moments, in the spaces between conversations, in the nights that feel longer than they used to. I had to learn how to live with it, not fight it. I had to make peace with the fact that life had changed. The first step was accepting that grief and loneliness often go hand in hand. I was grieving my old life, my home, my independence, and the way things used to be. I missed the simple things. Waking up in my own bed, the smell of my coffee brewing in the kitchen, the sound of my family moving around the house. I missed being needed. That was the hardest part. I spent decades being a father, a grandfather, a friend, a neighbor. Then suddenly, I was just another old man in a nursing home. It felt like I had lost myself. But here is what I have learned. You do not stop being who you are just because your surroundings change. Your life is not over just because it looks different now. I started finding ways to reclaim pieces of myself. I wrote letters to my grandchildren, even if they did not always write back. I told stories to anyone who would listen, even if I had told them before. I looked for small moments of joy, like the way the morning sun streamed through my window or the warmth of a cup of tea in my hands. I stopped waiting for someone else to fill the emptiness and started filling it myself. I also had to redefine what connection meant. In my younger years, I thought meaningful relationships were built on shared experiences, long conversations, and constant interaction. But now I have learned that connection comes in many forms. A smile from a nurse who remembers how I like my coffee. A familiar face in the dining hall who nods at me in recognition. A short phone call from my son, even if it only lasts 5 minutes. These moments may seem small, but they carry weight. They remind me that I am still part of the world, that I still matter. Or there were days when I wanted to shut myself away, to retreat into my own thoughts and let the loneliness take over. But I knew that was not the answer. Isolation feeds loneliness. The more you pull away, the heavier it becomes. So I made a promise to myself. I would keep showing up. I would keep saying good morning, keep sitting at the table with others, keep asking questions, even if the answers did not always interest me. Because connection, no matter how small, is what keeps us human. I found that purpose is the greatest antidote to loneliness. When you feel like you have a reason to get up in the morning, the emptiness loses its grip. I started helping others where I could. I listened when someone needed to talk. I encouraged new residents who were struggling with the same feelings I had faced. I shared my wisdom, not because I thought I had all the answers, but because I knew how much it meant to hear, "You are not alone in this." Memories became my companions. I used to think reminiscing was just a way to cling to the past, but I have come to see it differently. My memories are proof that I lived, that I loved, that I had a life full of moments worth remembering. I let myself get lost in them sometimes, the way my wife laughed on our wedding day, the feeling of holding my newborn son for the first time, the scent of fresh-cut grass on a summer afternoon. These memories are not just ghosts of what once was. They are treasures I carry with me, reminders that my life has been full and meaningful. I will not pretend that every day is easy. There are still nights when the loneliness creeps in, when I miss my old life so much that it aches. But I have learned how to live with it without letting it consume me. I have learned that even in a place like this, where so many feel forgotten, there is still room for connection, purpose, and joy. I have learned that loneliness is not an enemy to be defeated, but a companion to be understood. It walks beside me, but it does not define me. If there is one thing I would tell anyone facing this transition, it is this. Do not let loneliness convince you that your life is over. It is not. You are still here. You still have something to offer. You still have stories to tell, wisdom to share, and moments to experience. Keep reaching out. Keep finding small joys. Keep showing up. Because even in the quietest moments, life is still worth living. If you had been more prepared, what would your ideal final years have looked like? If I had been more prepared, my final years would have looked very different. I would not have been caught off guard by old age creeping up on me. I would not have let time slip through my fingers while telling myself that I had plenty left. I would not be sitting here now, staring at these unfamiliar walls, wishing I had made different choices. Instead, I would have stepped into this chapter of my life with a plan, with dignity, and with the kind of peace that comes from knowing I had done everything I could to make my last years my best years. I would have started preparing long before my body started to slow down. I would have sat down in my 50s, maybe even earlier, and thought hard about what I wanted my final years to look like. I would have asked myself where I wanted to live, how I wanted to be cared for, and what kind of life I wanted to lead when the days of work and raising children were behind me. I would have written it all down, not just in my mind, but in real plans. I would have talked to my family, made sure they understood my wishes, and taken the steps necessary to make those wishes a reality. I would have chosen a place that felt like home, not one that was forced upon me when I could no longer care for myself. Maybe a small house with a garden where I could sit in the morning sun with a cup of coffee in my hands. Maybe a community of people my age where I could have friendships and laughter, where I could have neighbors to share meals with and stories to tell. Maybe I would have found a way to stay in my own home, hiring the right help so that I would never have to leave their place filled with a lifetime of memories. The key is, I would have chosen. It would not have been chosen for me. I would have taken care of the practical things, the ones no one wants to think about until it is too late. I would have made sure my finances were in order so that I would never be a burden on my children. I would have sorted out my will, my medical directives, and all the paperwork that causes stress and confusion when left undone. I would have made it clear what I wanted if my health declined, sparing my family the pain of making impossible decisions on my behalf. But more than anything, I would have built a life worth living in my final years. I would have filled my days with things that gave me joy and purpose. Maybe I would have spent my mornings reading on a porch, feeling the cool breeze on my face. Maybe I would have taken up painting, something I never had time for when life was busy. Maybe I would have volunteered at a local school, sharing stories with children who could use a grandfather figure in their lives. I would have made sure that every day had meaning, no matter how small. I would have nurtured my relationships, making sure I stayed connected to the people who mattered most. I would have called my children often, not waiting for them to call me. I would have visited my old friends, even if it meant traveling a little further than I liked. I would have spent more time with my grandchildren, showing them that their grandfather was not just an old man in a chair, but someone who had lived, who had stories to tell, who had wisdom to share. I would have taken better care of my body, not waiting until it was too late to start thinking about my health. I would have walked more, eaten better, and not taken my strength for granted. I would have listened to the signs my body gave me instead of ignoring them, convincing myself that I was still as strong as I was in my younger years. I would have accepted the changes that come with aging, not fought against them until they knocked me down. I would have embraced this stage of life instead of fearing it. I spent so many years avoiding thoughts of getting old, as if pretending it was not happening would somehow stop it from coming. But if I had been more prepared, I would have faced it head on, welcoming the slower days, the quiet moments, and the time to reflect on all that had been. I would have understood that aging is not just about loss. It is also about finding new ways to live, new things to appreciate, new joys that can only be seen with the eyes of someone who has lived long enough to understand what truly matters. I would not have let regret take up so much space in my heart. Regret is a heavy thing to carry, and now in this place, I feel its weight every day. I regret not planning ahead. I regret not making the decisions that would have given me more control over my final years. I regret waiting too long to face the truth. But if I had been more prepared, I would not have wasted my time looking back. I would have spent these years looking forward, savoring every moment I had left. I cannot change the past. None of us can. But if I could speak to someone younger than me, someone still in the years where they believe they have all the time in the world, I would tell them this. Do not wait. Do not push it aside. Do not think that you will deal with it later. Later comes faster than you think. Make the decisions now that will give you the final years you want. Choose where you will live, how you will spend your days, and who you will surround yourself with. Take care of the practical things so that your family does not have to. Keep your body moving, your mind sharp, and your relationships strong. Do not let regret be your final companion. If I had been more prepared, my final years would have been filled with choice, with freedom, and with peace. They would have been years I could look forward to, not years I dreaded. But even now, with all my regrets, I still have time. I can still find joy in small moments. I can still share my stories. I can still reach out to the people I love. And so I do. Because no matter where we find ourselves in life, no matter what mistakes we have made, we always have the choice to make the most of the time we have left. What is the most important lesson about aging that you wish everyone understood before it is too late? There comes a time in every man's life when he looks back and wonders where all the years have gone. It sneaks up on you like a shadow stretching across the ground at sunset. One moment, you are running wild with the energy of youth, believing you have all the time in the world. Then, before you know it, your reflection in the mirror is lined with wrinkles, your hair has turned silver or disappeared altogether, and your bones creak like an old wooden floor. I have lived long enough to understand something that I wish every young person knew before it is too late. Aging is not just about getting old. It is about how you carry the years that pile upon your shoulders. And if you are not careful, those years can feel like a burden instead of a gift. The most important lesson about aging is this. Time is not your enemy. The real enemy is wasting it. So many people fear growing older because they think it means losing their strength, their beauty, or their relevance. But I have seen with my own eyes that the real tragedy is not in growing old. It is in reaching old age with regret. I have met men who spent their lives chasing wealth, but never took the time to truly live. I have seen women who obsessed over staying young instead of embracing the grace and wisdom that age brings. And I have witnessed too many souls who thought they had forever to mend broken relationships, to follow their dreams, or to simply enjoy the small moments of life. Only to wake up one day and realize that forever is a lie we tell ourselves when we are afraid to act. If there is one thing I wish every person understood, it is that aging does not steal your time. It reveals what you have done with it. When I was young, I used to think that I would always have another day to do the things I kept putting off. Another day to tell my loved ones how much they meant to me. Another day to take that trip I had always dreamed of. Another day to take care of my health before my bad habits caught up with me. But time is not kind to those who take it for granted. I have seen friends, full of life and laughter, suddenly taken by illness. I have seen dreams crumble into dust because their owners waited too long to chase them. I have seen fathers and mothers leave this world with words unspoken, love unexpressed, and potential unfulfilled. The saddest part of aging is not the wrinkles on your skin. It is the weight of all the things you never did when you had the chance. Aging teaches you that your body will change whether you want it to or not. You will lose strength if you do not use it. You will lose flexibility if you do not stretch. You will lose your health if you do not respect it. I have watched men younger than me walk with more pain and struggle than I do because they neglected their bodies when they had the power to care for them. They let their backs hunch over, their legs grow weak, and their breath grow short. Then, when age finally forced them to slow down, they wish they had not taken their strength for granted. The truth is, if you do not take care of yourself when you are young, aging will not be kind to you. You do not have to be an athlete, but you must keep moving. You do not have to eat perfectly, but you must be mindful. You do not have to fear growing old, but you must respect the body that carries you through this life. Another cruel trick of time is how it tests your relationships. When you are young, you think you will always have time to call that friend back, to visit your parents more often, to spend time with your children before they grow up. But time does not wait. I have seen men who thought they were too busy for their families end up old and alone, wishing they had chosen differently. I have seen friendships wither like neglected plants because both people assumed the other would always be there. Let me tell you something that only age can make clear. No one stays forever. Parents grow old and pass on. Friends drift apart and sometimes never return. Children grow into adults with lives of their own. If you do not cherish the people in your life while you have them, one day you will wake up and realize that you have spent all your years collecting things instead of memories. And no amount of money or success can replace the warmth of love that was lost along the way. One of the greatest misconceptions about aging is that it means the end of excitement, adventure, and purpose. That is a lie told by those who have given up too soon. If there is one thing I wish I had understood earlier, it is that life does not stop being beautiful just because you have lived a long time. The only difference between a young man and an old man is how he chooses to see the world. I have met men in their 70s who still wake up with curiosity and hunger for life. And I have met men in their 40s who walk around as if they are already dead. The secret to aging well is not in trying to hold on to youth. It is in refusing to let your spirit grow old before your body does. Learn new things, try new experiences, stay curious, laugh often. Do not let your world grow small just because the years have grown large. Regret is the heaviest burden you will ever carry, and I promise you, it is far heavier than age itself. If I could go back in time and speak to my younger self, I would tell him this: love more, fear less, take care of your body, chase your dreams while you still have the strength to run. Do not wait for the perfect moment, because life is made of imperfect moments that slip through your fingers if you hesitate. Forgive quickly. Hold your loved ones close. And for God's sake, do not waste your time worrying about things that will not matter when you're old. Aging is a privilege denied to many. It is not something to dread. It is something to honor. Every wrinkle is a story. Every gray hair is a lesson. Every slow step is proof that you have traveled far. But how you feel about growing old depends entirely on how you have lived. If you have loved deeply, laughed loudly, and chased life with everything you had, then aging will feel like a badge of honor rather than a punishment. But if you have spent your years afraid to live, then old age will come for you like a thief in the night, stealing what little time you have left. So, if you are still young, or even if you are not so young but still have time ahead of you, do not waste another second. Live with urgency, not because life is short, but because life is precious. Treat your body like the temple that will carry you into old age. Hold on to your loved ones before time forces you to let go. Keep learning, keep moving, keep loving. And when the day comes when you look into the mirror and see the years written on your face, may you smile knowing that you have truly lived. If you liked today's discussion, don't forget to like the video. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to stay updated with every video we release. And yes, don't forget to share your experiences and thoughts in the comments. Every comment is special to us. Your feedback helps us improve further. We'll continue to meet you in every new video on this channel, so until next time, take care.